right, so really challenging week. Playing against Arkansas, preparing for them. Really good team with dynamic offense and really dynamic quarterback. One of the top offenses statistically in the country, and run and pass. So these guys present a lot of challenge. Coach Petrino's done a great job there. Even in our game last year, that they did as well as anybody offensively against us in moving the ball and different things. So, and on defense, prior to last year, they really had we had some tough games against them. So we're gonna have to prepare really well and play our best game of the year. We got a lot to clean up from last week, especially turnovers and lack of getting turnovers. You're not gonna win many SEC games -2 in turnover margin. So we got to definitely clean that up.
Lane, how would you evaluate your guys' run defense through 2 games so far?
Well, I think a lot goes into those things. And people get lost, I think, sometimes in statistics on certain things, and have to understand that people play different games different ways. Like on the other side, we were run heavy in the game and took the ball out of there, playing Kentucky and getting ahead. And so if you look, our passing numbers weren't that big. So I think sometimes on defense that can be misleading. We've done some really good things in the run game. Now we missed some tackles, and also, we have backups in at the end of the first game where the long run goes, and then we give up some safe long rushing yard at the end of the first half in this game. So I think we've done a good job in the run game. We've lost contain a couple of times, and some big plays have happened, but we've also schematically done certain things for the opponent we were playing.
You mentioned it, Lane, before how Austin in this offense has something that even Jackson didn't have last year with Keywan, him #1 in the SEC in rushing and things like that. When he has a game, does Austin where he turns the ball over and then being able to rely on that group of guys to really stabilize things? How big of an advantage is that, and something that was sorely lacking, if you will?
Yeah. We for the most part have had that every year before last year, the ability to run the ball, and so that was good to have it back, especially when you're on the road in the SEC against a good defense. And I think in that game, we played that game maybe differently than we would have a year ago, as we got the lead and running the ball more and less passes in those situations. But also, Austin also made some big plays prior to the fourth quarter. We only had 1 pass attempt, I think, in the fourth quarter. But, like the fourth one, he's throwing the 2 interceptions and makes a big throw on 4th and 1 in our territory, down 10-0. So he did some good things. And there's 2 times, just like the game before, now it's 2 games in a row where one of his interceptions is, a lot of pressure right here in his face as he releases the ball. That'll affect any quarterback.
You mentioned Taylor Green, too, kind of touching on him. Y'all played him before. Y'all know him as a player. He's always had that dual threat capability, and he's dangerous in both ways. But it seems like, at least through the first few weeks of the season, he's taken a step up, too. They're #4, I think, in yards in the country. Just what have you seen from him and his growth?
Yeah, really dynamic. First off, he's dynamic, athlete from a height, weight, speed standpoint, to be able to run like he can. And I don't think he was fully healthy in our game a year ago. So he's a problem. He's a lot to deal with, and I think kind of similar that way to the South Carolina quarterback, Lenoris, that here's 2 guys that are really hard to game plan for because they're big and they can throw and run.
Ben kind of asked the question I was going to ask. I'll ask another Arkansas one. I'm curious, with their defense, what do you see differently this year than maybe what you guys saw a year ago?
There's a lot of new players, which is kind of what seems like everybody around the country has, which is on a different topic on that. It's like teams are able to, really change from year to year. So the year before doesn't mean very much. You used to have some teams, maybe they were down in a position area or a whole offense or defense. And then you're like, well, you play them again the next year, they're probably down again. Everybody just has the ability now with the portal and money to fix their problems. And I think you're seeing that in the conference. And it's why our bottom of our conference is, I think, different than everybody else. the teams because they fixed their problems. So these guys have a lot of new players that they've plugged into places where I think they probably wanted to get better, and they look like it.
TJ has now led the team in tackles both weeks to start the year. What's the biggest step you've seen in his game on and off the field?
I think just learning all the intricacies. We have a very complicated defense, and once you really get to know the things like Trey Washington a year ago, you can play at a really high level, and that's what he's doing now.
Besides protecting the football, what else are you looking for out of Austin this week?
I think, and usually coming back home helps. Again, that was his first road start, and we have high expectations for our players. But first road starts in any level, including the NFL. Guys sometimes struggle early. So I think coming back home would be good, and want him to take care of the ball, but and not feel rushed when it's not there. There were times in that game early I felt like because we were getting beat on some good rushes early, he started to feel that even when it wasn't there. So just calming him down.
You brought in some Arkansas flavor in the portal this year with those 3 transfers. Does that matter at all on Saturday?
No, I don't think so. I think Georgia State had 2 or 3 of our players, so I think that's a little overrated.
And then the trailer came out last week for the ESPN documentary you're in. From your perspective, what was it like filming that, and what do you hope to get out of that?
That was not my idea. So, they approached me, and I kind of really didn't realize there was so much involved in it. But it was just strange seeing the trailer because it's like kind of your life, and you've now so far removed from a lot of it, over the years and the different jobs and stuff. So it's just kind of interesting to see, kind of makes it all real.
And I guess real quick, because I took us off topic, report came out just before this that you guys scheduled Pitt for a home and home, needed to get a power opponent in. But what do you make of that matchup, if you've had any thoughts about that?
Is that confirmed report? I mean, I don't want to say that if it's, I'm guessing it is.
Not confirmed then?
No, I didn't. I don't know.
I guess, can you confirm that, or no, not yet?
I mean, I was told that was going to happen. I didn't know it was like finalized. But that would be a great matchup, very historic team, and, they've done a really good job.
Do you feel like you guys need to get Caden Lee involved a little bit more? I think he only has 3 catches so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's not play calls, like there's twice he's been down the middle, and Austin's been hit both times trying to get him the ball, for big explosive plays, and we missed him on a 3rd down. So sometimes and we took the air out of the ball, so there's not a lot of, receptions for anybody last week. And even in that first game, those guys were out, early. So I wouldn't think too much into that. He's a great player, and he's going to make a lot of plays for us this year.
And I think at the end of last week, or right before the weekend, a hurdle to having just a singular January transfer window or past one hurdle. I think it's got to have a vote next month. But any kind of early thoughts on maybe just having one window in January?
Yeah, I think that cleans stuff up. I think I've said this before, there's 2 views. I usually give you the view for the best of college football. It's not necessarily always the best for Ole Miss. Because really the best for college football would be one transfer period in real contracts. I don't know. I don't think that nobody should think it's good that you go to play a player in his 5th school. I mean, that's just whatever college student athletes, what are you going to 5 schools for in 5 years? So everybody should have the ability to transfer, but I understand why people think it's good, but there's so much bad to it at that age. You have the ability to leave all the time when things don't go your way, and you don't push through anything because they're not giving me the ball enough. I don't like how they talk to me. That ain't gonna help you in real life. And that's too much of what's going on now, and it's not the kid's fault, it's the setup. So, kind of a saving rant there. But to your question, yeah, the one's probably better, just to limit that. So again, once you're there and you're in spring ball, you're not going, well, man, I didn't like how they used me on that Saturday scrimmage, I'm leaving.
What have you seen from Luke Haas in his recovery process, and do you have any update on that?
Yeah, I think he'll play this week. He's been working really hard, and we'll know more in the next couple of days.
Questions for Coach? Coach, on follow-up on that, is there more of that than chasing the money, you think, as far as the pool goes?
Well, it's a combination, but and that's okay. That's people do that in all professions. Go for bigger salaries. I'm more on the part that you just continue to set up for young people that you can just keep leaving at times. No penalty to it, and just because you don't like how things are going, and that certainly doesn't help their transfer of academic units, and nobody even thinks about it anymore. We've gotten to a place where recruits come here, and one of the questions that parents always ask, talk to me about academics. What's the plan for him to graduate? I don't ever get that question anymore. It's, what's he going to get paid? Is that what? It's really good. So when those kids don't graduate and they got a little more money and then it's all gone and they don't have a degree, did we really help them with the system?
Yes, about Luke Haas. I'll just ask about Jalen Braxton because he was on questionable all week and then was downgraded. Kind of where is he? And I'm not asking for particulars, but kind of his potential for this week.
Yeah, he was doing well and then had a setback. So I think that'll be the same this week, that, we'll see how much he can do.
Prince Will has kind of been an analytics darling these couple weeks, but have you seen, screw the analytics, but with your own eyes on film, have you seen him show up like that, like the analytics think?
Yeah, I don't know what those analytics think. I do know what my eyes see, which is a really good rusher that impacts the game and makes plays on a fourth down, beats the left tackle, so the guy can't get the ball off on time. So he's been a great addition. Obviously, there's looks a lot like his brother out there, and he's a defensive player of the game. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't, he's been bothered injury-wise, warmed up and played some, but he just wasn't 100%, so that's why he was limited. All right, guys, thanks.